Let him put his name on the Quran. Say, by God Almighty, I give my testimony in complete truth, and I will not say but the truth. Sit down, please. Go ahead, please give us your complaint. Shall I talk? Yes. In the name of God, praise be to God, and peace be upon Muhammad and his companions and family. Your Honor, the day of the accident, I was sitting by the street, and before you give the statement, do you know the defendants? Do you have any relationship with them? Yes. Saddam and Barzan and Uwaid al-Bandar and Yasin Ramadan. I mean, do you know them? They are I'm not talking about the case. Do you personally know them? Do you have a relationship to them? Do you have any? No, they are defendants. Do you know them? Did you know them before the case? Yes, they are the head. Do you have any personal relationship with them through family ties or anything? Do you know anybody of them? Are they related through family? Do you have any hostility towards them? Do you have? The hostility came because of the case, because of the accident. I don't have enmity otherwise. I was sitting by the street about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Now, after a lunch recess, the afternoon session of the trial of Saddam Hussein has resumed. This is a video-delayed taping that is coming through. It's about 20 minutes delayed. And what you're looking at now is witness testimony coming from a witness for the prosecution who has chosen to give his or her testimony behind the curtain, which is why we're hearing voices coming from there, the image of the curtain, but not the face of a witness. Let's listen in more to find out what this person has to say.
And the army itself and the intelligence forces. 1 minute. When the planes landed, we saw from far that they rode in a car and they brought him to the police station in the circle where the planes landed and the police station there, about 300 meters. At that time we walked towards the station. Behind the center. He gave a speech. Who gave the speech? Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein. He gave a speech to the public of the jail. Behind the center there is a yard. Then he told them, I want to go to the old province. And he went. We dispersed and came back turned back to our families. I returned to where I was sitting on the street, and he went to the old city. Once he went there, about 30 minutes, around 30 minutes, I could not tell the exact time. I heard shots as I was sitting, about counted on the fingers of one hand, and then after that there were more shots, and the army that was close by immediately set out to go to the city through the Bab al-Khana area, and immediately we saw cars of the guards, the National Guard and the Presidential Republican Guard and the intelligence and the private guards, all dispersed all around the city. And then the firing was heavier. The people were coming, but they were turned back. Some people were saying this is joyous because Saddam was visiting. Some said no, this was to attack Saddam. We didn't know. We weren't sure what was the case. What the case was. Then the forces were all over, and nobody could even walk on the streets. They wouldn't allow anybody to move. They asked us to stay at home. And firing started until the night fell. At night, they wouldn't let anybody leave their house, and the Republican guards started raiding houses and inspecting, searching houses. They came to my house and they searched my house. They found only my family and they left. We slept that night. We woke up in the morning and the street was still where nobody could walk on the street. Nobody could walk on the street. I stayed at home until about 4 o'clock. At home, just I see planes over. They're raiding the farms and the fields. But I don't know what was going on. I'm at home. At about 4 o'clock, around 4 o'clock, the security officer came to me. His name was Abu Ahmed. His name was Yunus. He was called, also known as Abu Muhammad, and also Mash'an Dahan came to me. And with them in the car was an investigator. I put on my robe and my head cover and went out to meet them. They said, "We want you to come with us 10 minutes and we'll return you back." I said, "Okay, welcome. But tell me, should I put my head cover or not?" They said, no. Mash'an Dahan took me from the door to the car that was in the street. He put me in the car. They took me to the center of the National Guard and the Popular Army. And I met somebody, they called him Abu Nabil. I don't know his real name, but he was called Abu Nabil. With the security officer, I saw 4 bodies in the hallway. as I was going into the hall, they said, "Do you know your son?" I said, "No." "Do you know anybody of them?" I said, "No, they're I can't see their faces very well, so I can't identify them." In the hall, I saw a group about 50 more, or around 50 in the hall. They took me out one more time. I saw that they left. They have now seven bodies. And they asked me to identify my son in them. I said I can't because the faces are mutilated, and they started yelling at me, and they said, "You don't know your son?" I said, "No, I can't identify him." They took me back inside. I found Barzan. He was there with interrogators. They asked me about a person and about his sons, and I told them I don't know them. They returned me, and they brought my family and those present in the hall, about 50 or 60 women and men and young. They had them out. They took me out one more time to the hallway, and I did not find the 7 bodies. They had already been taken. I saw 2 bodies in a pickup truck, and they asked me to identify my son amongst those 2 bodies. I went there and I could identify my son, and I said, "That's my son, and that's my other son." When I saw that, what are their names? When I saw this, I was pale. And I was unconscious. Macaan took me, lifted me up, and the interrogator and the security officer was there. They brought me to the car. The car is a sedan, and I saw my family in the van, in the car, and also some other families were in the same van. It was night and we were fasting. It was Ramadan and it was summer. It was hot. They put us in the car. At night we arrived at the intelligence center. They put the women in one side and the men and the young men in another side, and they put us against the wall and don't move. They asked us not to move, otherwise we would be shot. For about an hour against the wall in the situation. After that, they took us up to we climbed the stairs in the intelligence center to halls. There before, in the headquarters, I saw them before me, and I saw more in the center. On Thursday, they took, on Friday, when they took us, 145 people there, and the capacity is only 30 persons. I swear by God, I'm telling you the truth, you will find the toilets flooded. The water was extremely hot, and the time was summer. This, we stayed in that place. Food was they bring us soup, or they bring us just enough to go by. People, some would sleep, some would stand up, because we couldn't sleep very well. 17 days, during which we took me 3 times for interrogation. 3 times for interrogation. I asked them, what do you want from me? They said, why don't you bring your son? I told them, I don't know where my son is. I don't know where my son is. He is in Basra. I know that he is in Basra, so I don't know where he is. How can I bring him? They told him, no, he is a wall, and they would put electricity. They would put electricity in my body, and I would wish to die, not to be. God is my witness. Just mention your name, your son's name. The one that was killed? The one that was in the college, in the military. How about the 2 that were killed? What's the name of the son that was killed? Let him continue. During the interrogation, they would torture me. Barzan was eating grapes, and I was screaming. I'm an old man. He was there. They would take me down. They carry me. They threw me in the hole where my family is. 3 times I was tortured during those 17 days. After the 17 days, at night, about 10 o'clock, they took us outside in cars to Abu Ghraib. We got about 1 a.m. to Abu Ghraib. 1 a.m. They put us in a section that was set aside. There was no bed, nothing to sleep on. The guards would not allow us to sleep, and they would scream and shout. This time in Abu Ghraib was about a year and 2 months. That's on top of what we spent in the intelligence. they would send the young people. In some sections they were the mothers, and we the men and the young men were upstairs. In the hallway they would put one of the guards. They hit us with cables, and we would see our kids being hit with the cables, and the mothers' hearts will break also. Even the kids, they intimidate them with things. Maybe there's 2 years, 3 years. By God, I'm telling you the truth. Since I was even when I was in the intelligence, a child, his name was Jasim Muhammad al-Tayyib, they killed him because of torture. When I went down to interrogation, I saw him dead in the hallway. They said, anyway, we stayed a year in Abu Ghraib. They hit one on his head. He was 70 years old. He was hit on the head, and as a result, he died a day or 2 days after that. That's what I remember. Who hit him? The guards. Do you know the name of the guard? No. They don't give us their names. If they give us their names, they will be not real. Mushbil, his name is Mushbil. In Abu Ghraib. And also children died in Abu Ghraib. Mushbil Hassan. Go on. Two children were born there. The woman, nothing, no help, and the children died. They took them, they wrapped them with newspapers. We stayed 1 year and 2 months in Abu Ghraib. Before us, 3 months earlier, a group left. We thought that they went to their families. We thought that they were released to go to their families. After that, they took us with our families to the desert. They took us to the desert. We found houses for Bedouins, sand and very dry land. We don't have any food, nothing. Those who were there, we stayed about 10 days until they allocated us some allotments. Sometimes they bring us some dry food. We bring us flour, we'll make some bread. And when we came to the desert, I saw 3 dead before me. Do you know their names? Yes, I know. One is Wahab Jafar. and a woman, I don't know her name, and Yasin al-Hassan. Yasin al-Hassan. During that time, in the desert, when we were in the desert, about 4 died. Hamid Zaygaran, Sabri al-Asad, Nofa, Nofa, and the last one I forgot. Other than the children who also died in the desert, they buried them in the desert. In the desert, we saw hardship, no clothes, nothing, no bed to sleep on. The weather would be sometimes cold, and the guards, we could not go to get firewood. We would go about 2 kilometers to get firewood, because so that we could get firewood to cook some food to eat. We would walk about 2 kilometers, and then it was about 3 kilometers because it was a desert, and then we were forced to take. They came and they took from us, the popular army. They took young people and they took them. Sometimes those people will bring us back from our families. From our families, they'd bring us some food or something. So if they come, they would pass by to bring us something. That was the most hardship that we saw, was in the desert. Until one day, one from the intelligence came to take our names. He wrote down our names, and in the afternoon he came. He said to Saya, Laya. He went to the Balad section, and he came in the morning. After he wrote our name, how did you know that he was intelligence, and what was his name? He identified himself as intelligence. What was his name? We didn't know who he was. He identified himself as intelligence. In the morning, next morning he came, the same person came. He said everybody who had his name on my paper come. The same night, they brought us open trucks, army. Some said that they brought it from the Messiah. They were open, about 10-15 trucks. They put us on those trucks. They took us out of the desert about 11 p.m. until we arrived at night at 12 at night. They brought us to Dujil. 12 they got us to Dujil. There we saw the guy said, you go to your families. The one who took us to the prison, he took us back to the jail. and each went to his family. That was the time. I stayed about 6 months or 7 months, and then the same people, the security and officer and Mash'ab, came. They said, we want to talk to you. I said, what do you want to talk about? They said, well, we want you to come to the station, to the center. About 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and come. And I went with them. When I went with them, I found a gentleman from, two gentlemen from the intelligence, and we sat in a room wondering what the situation was.
All right, I'm Michael Holmes at the CNN Centre here in Atlanta. We're going to break away from our coverage of Saddam Hussein's trial and go to Anish Rahman and get a sense of what has been going on so far today as this trial has recommenced. Anish, the headlines, if you will.
Yeah, Michael, essentially we're in